Hi everyone, welcome back to another episode of Phys 3500 Classical Mechanics at the University of Windsor. I'm your instructor, Dr. TJ Hammond. This week we'll be finishing up Lagrangian and Hamiltonian dynamics. So for Monday's lecture, October 19th, I'll be reviewing what you need to know for the midterm and how to prepare for the midterm, and we'll be going over more sample problems in this lecture, and same with Wednesday's lecture, so that you have plenty of time to see many examples to study from for your exam. Okay, so your first exam or your first midterm in this course is going to be on Friday. I'll post the exam at 9 a.m. Friday morning, and it'll be due 7 p.m. Friday evening. I expect it to take about 2.5 hours. For those of you who have written exams with me before, they tend to be a little on the long side, but I expect you to only take about 2 hours to write these. So, I'm giving you extra time so that you can kind of check your work and stuff. Of course, Fridays we have already blocked off for the tutorial and the course, 10:30 to 12:30. I will be available during that time to answer any questions, just like I would in class. However, I'm not making it due right then in case that there are technical issues. Also, you had a little bit extra time to kind of work on your problems and like check over your work and things like that. But I expect you to, shortly thereafter, attempt to submit your exam. I'm giving you extra time because I know that people have labs in the evening or in the afternoons or have other classes and things like that. And so you'll have plenty of time to work on that in case if you've, haven't finished up a problem or something like that in that 2-hour allotted time slot. But I'm not accepting late exams. So if you start your exam at 5 o'clock and you try and finish it at 7 and then you have some technical problems in submitting it, that's too bad. I will not accept them. So submit them through Blackboard. They'll be posted on Blackboard, just like your assignments. And so submit through Blackboard. That way I know when it's submitted and we can keep everything kind of contained within Blackboard. It should take 2 hours. As I said, we normally have the time slot from 10:30 to 12:30 blocked off anyways. So I know that you don't have any other courses during that time. So you should have plenty of time to be able to focus and work on it. However, I know that everybody's working from home. And so I know that sometimes you can have distractions during the day and things like that. So that's why I'm giving you extra time, but please try and do it during that time because that's when I'd be available. There will be a derivation. So obviously, since you can check your notes, it's not so much about just regurgitating what that derivation is. It's going to be, understanding and interpreting that derivation. And just a reminder, what have we covered so far in this course? We did a brief review in Chapter 1 of just the math, Chapter 2, Newtonian mechanics, Chapter 3, simple harmonic motion, Chapter 5 was on gravity, and Chapters 6 and 7 were what we've been spending the past month on or even more. So that's calculus of variations and Lagrangian and Hamiltonian dynamics. So a question that I want you to think about is, how do you study for exams? So this is, of course, going to be open book, mainly just because I can't make it closed book. So how do you study for exams, though? Especially now in this new time, how do you get prepared for these? You might think, well, it's open book. I can just, have my book next to me while I'm working on this problem. Sure, but that's going to be quite inefficient for your time. As I said, there's still a finite amount of time for you to work on these problems. So if you think you can just do it all during that, those 10 hours, that might be fairly inefficient. My advice for you for how to write exams is, when you get the exam, when you see it, read over the entire exam. See what so you can get kind of a feel of what the exam is going to be talking about. Read over the problems that you know well and put down some notes on how to solve them. You can solve these, right off the bat if you have confidence that you can do that. But it's good to kind of just put down some notes, like how would you approach this problem now that everything is kind of fresh in your brain. Because when you've been working on this exam for 2 hours and you come back to a problem that might be easy, you might say, oh, I can do this really quickly. But then after 2 hours, your brain, you're kind of tired and you might not be able to solve it as quickly as you'd hoped. So jot down some notes and give yourself hints on how to solve them for when you come back to this later. For harder problems, think of how it relates to a problem that you may have already seen before. So typically, harder problems aren't just they're often just more complicated, and so you've seen simple examples of how to you've seen simple examples and you solve simple examples, and then it might be that you have a simple example compounded with a simple example and makes this quite difficult. And so break down problems into parts that and then attack the problem from there. For the exam, attempt all problems. I can give part marks for part answers, but if you don't answer anything, for a question, I just give a 0 because there's nothing I can do. So as long as you attempt something, I can give you some marks. And sketch, definitely draw the situation to help you understand the problem. If you don't draw something and you make some assumption, like if you have y, your y variable or your y coordinate is down, and then you end up with a negative y, I don't know if that's then going up or do you mean this is going down? And so if you sketch the drawing and you label your axes, that would help me to know that you've set y to down, and so if something is going up, then that means it's negative y, and that might make sense. So make sure you do that. You label a coordinate system. We've gone through that earlier on in the course on how to solve Newtonian problems. You can use the same ideas for solving Lagrangian and Hamiltonian problems. And then the rest of Monday, we'll be going over this example. So we have this example from your textbook. I'll be walking you through it using Hamiltonian and Lagrangian mechanics. And then we have some other problems from the textbook. So this one, 723, is similar to what we've seen before in Lagrangian mechanics. It's basically showing the equivalence between Hamiltonian dynamics and Newton's equations, which we already did for Lagrangian mechanics. And then this is a problem that I had posed on Friday, but I didn't get to solve. And so we'll do this one probably on Wednesday. It'll take up most of our Wednesday's lecture. But we also have a little animation that we can do with Python that shows the solution to this, which is kind of cool. All right, that will be the lecture for Monday. It will likely be most of Wednesday's lecture as well. See you in class.